Good afternoon. I'd like to call to order the Butte-Silver Council of Commissioners Committee of the Whole meeting for Wednesday, September 13th, 2023. Clerk, can we have roll call?
One presiding, 11 present, 0 absent.
Thank you. Commissioner Anderson. Yes, of course. Commissioner Sorich, prayer and the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. Almighty God, we implore you, look upon us and guide us this night as we make decisions which shall greatly affect our community of Butte-Silver. Direct our thoughts, words, and deeds so that we please you and best serve our fellow citizens. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Commissioner Sorich. I'll now ask for public comment on any items on the agenda. Your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, I had it and I turned it off. My name's Joe Griffin. I live at 1121 West Diamond. I'm here to talk about Communication 2023-436 or the Superfund resolution. I think this resolution, as well, the letter suggesting a resolution, is ill-advised at this point, and I say that because I worked on the decisions that went into this as a project manager for DEQ for almost 12 years. I know all the technical details behind it. I would remind this council that Butte-Silver was named a potentially responsible party, and that was for our stormwater discharge. We were named a PRP because our stormwater routed metals from the hill into the river. And personally, I took a lot of interest and did a lot of work as a hydrogeologist on what became the remedy in the MSD corridor, in the upper Silver Bow Creek corridor, which was to build stormwater ponds. I was a huge advocate for that. And when I retired, I actually joined Restore Our Creek, and I put in a lot of work with them. If you look at the document we turned out, the vision document we turned out, you will see me in there. I spent a lot of time working on it because I believe, that there might be an ability to route water down there. But I just want to get back to where we're at now. Those ponds will be built. They are part of the remedy. But I think what went into, I would just remind everybody that this is EPA's decision. They wrote the record of decision. DEQ wrote a letter of total concurrence with that record of decision. And so they really were in agreement. And then it went on to be a proposed plan, which the community had every ability to comment on the details of the remedy. The part that was confidential is the consent decree itself. That is a legal process, and it is what it is. But I would note that this county, as a settling defendant at that point, fully embraced it. And it seems like now we have the council kind of trying to claw their way back into changing those decisions, or how this county would be able to affect the way the remedy goes. I believe that's an absolute mistake. I think is what we'll do, if anything, is you will slow the process down. And I find that ironic that the main thing I hear is this has taken so long. So if you want it to take a whole lot longer than is scheduled, I would say go ahead and write a resolution that'll basically tie your staff's hands behind their back. They have been able to be very effective partners in moving the remedy forward. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, my name is Evan Barrett. I live at 807 West Silver. I'm a Butte citizen here, just speaking on my own behalf. This would be the third time I've addressed the council relative to the resolution that is part of Communication 436. I come to urge you to keep this resolution in play, to find a way to amend it in a few places and move it forward. I suggest that you, as the policy-making body of the Council of Commissioners, all 12 of you, need to invest yourself in determining not the past. We're not talking about the past. We're talking about the future. We're talking about what's going to go on in terms of the implementation of the consent decree. No one's suggesting going back on the consent decree. Actually, I would submit that ARCO and EPA are twisting themselves up into a contortionist knot to try to justify a change in the CD and say it isn't a change. And if you read the testimony or the comments that was submitted by the Natural Resource Damage Program to the EPA last week, you can see in there some significant disagreements, and I happen to wholeheartedly agree with the interpretation of NRD. I do think that the word may means may. I'm being told by the lawyers, I've talked to the EPA lawyers, may doesn't mean may, you know. And this is, if there's going to be anybody suggesting a change in this, it's ARCO and our BP ARCO and EPA who are making change in what kind of use the dirty dirt, how the dirty dirt can be used. Now, what this resolution is about is sound public policy, where you advise, you set by resolution a policy position for the local government. I don't know why anyone would find problems with something that says, well, when we go into discussions, we don't want to deviate from the consent decree, and any commitment should be driven by science and public input based on the concept that cleaner is better than waste in place. Now, that's a good policy. Haul routes, avoiding the city streets and making them the last resort, is good policy. Doing open meetings, public awareness, public observation is good policy for you, for all of Butte-Silver government and the citizens of Butte. That's good policy. Now, what is important is that as you get into these processes, and I've been talking very closely with the people who are working at DEQ and the people that are working at NRDP and the people that are working at EPA. I've talked to the administrators, I talked to the lawyers, and I'll tell you something. If you don't have your bearings when you go to work talking to those people, if you don't have your position firm in mind, then you're going to lose to the lawyers of the EPA and the lawyers of BP. So It really is a service to the people of Butte. It's a service to the employees of Butte to have the policy of Butte firmly laid out, not left soft and malleable, because it's in that malleability that we will lose to the guys with the expensive lawyers. And that's not what we need to do right now. There are serious questions right now about doing it right. This is about the future, not the past. But the rationalizations I've heard to try to justify a change in a CD and say it isn't a change isn't a change, and may doesn't mean may, and we've got lawyers lined up to say it. State lawyers disagree with it, by the way. State lawyers do disagree with it. And it's on paper, submitted to the EPA. So I would urge you to keep this in play, to work on this thing, to make it work for Butte, make it work for Butte local government, and make it work for the citizens of Butte, that we know where we are as we move forward. We're not just rolling the dice, we're not taking a chance that we shouldn't take, because they're ready to take advantage of that anytime they can. And again, if you look at the policies we're talking about here, about cleaners better than dirty, cleaners better than waste in place, don't you overuse the haul routes that are in town, try to have open meetings. Those things seem to me to be very solid things for you to address as policy for Butte-Silver Bow. And by the way, that is what the charter gives you the responsibility to do. And I hope you will stay with it and get it done and done right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett. All right, seeing no more public comment, we'll move on to report of the chair. I actually have a September 24th at noon is a tree planting service with our Department of Reclamation. I encourage all the other commissioners, I know it's a week and a half away, but it's September 24th, which is Sunday at noon, up near the Mount Con. I planted a few of these trees with the department, and Eric and Abby and Julia. It's a really good job, or it's a really fun thing. Commissioner Callahan has attended a few. So if you're not doing anything on Sunday, I strongly encourage you to come plant some trees. And then the other topic, I'm going to refer to Commissioner Shea to give an update on the Leonard Field wall up at Montana Tech. She's been working a lot with Chancellor Cook, so I'll let Commissioner Shea take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I received a message from Chancellor Cook last Friday. There had been some discussion about what was going on at the Leonard Field with the retaining wall, and he had sent this to me and asked me to share. These are his words, not mine, so I'll be quoting him. After hearing from our community, Montana Tech, working with our local contractor, has elected to move in a different direction regarding the retaining wall at Leonard Field. Earlier this summer, a local contractor began installing a temporary retaining wall due to the current wall failing and deteriorating. After discussions with our contractor, we plan to remove the retaining wall and attempt to repair the north-facing wall with new mortar and the rocks previously in place, but this is not a long-term fix. Long-term restoration will need to be considered in the future and requires further study. Montana Tech appreciates our contractor's willingness to pivot and remedy this situation.
Okay, thank you. So we'll move on to Section 1, Communications, and I need to make an amendment to the agenda. There was a communication that was left off last week, if you remember. We suspended the rules to pass all of the mills and everything, and I hailed communication, or resolution number 2023-47, and it was inadvertently left off of the Committee of the Whole. So we are going to add that communication to the end of the agenda. So it'll be number 6, that resolution. And so yeah, we'll read that resolution. Once we'll likely make a motion on that, and that'll be referred to
the regular meeting, and we will also vote on it next week. So just to keep the other commissioners, there's going to be another to pass that resolution for the mills. So we'll read that into the agenda afterwards. Well, yes. County Attorney Joyce.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, would hope that there would be a motion to place that on final reading and pass tonight, which of course will then be officially confirmed by the approval of the Committee of the Whole report next week.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was hoping one of my fellow commissioners would make a motion. Thank you. So we'll move on to one, communication number 2023-327, Dan Villa, 146 Whisper Ridge, Butte, Montana, informing the Council of Commissioners that the Homestake Meadow 2 Homeowners Association voted overwhelmingly at their June 13th semi-annual meeting to request Butte-Silver Bow form a special improvement district for the purpose of road paving. Attached is a map of the proposed properties for inclusion and the successful bid we received from a local contractor. I believe we are still holding this. Or Director Gleason.
Chairman Frederickson, Commissioners, for the record, Danette Gleason, Finance and Budget Director. The County Attorney and myself met with the Homeowners Association about this, and then we also followed up with a meeting with our bond counsel the following day. And in those discussions, we've decided that they have to go through some other public bidding processes and whatnot, so that we're going to ask that you note and place this on file. They'll come back to you probably in the time frame of more like January to start the process all over again and go through the petition process.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Gleason. At this time, I would make a motion to note and place on file communication number 2023-327.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Would commissioners please vote? Clerk, will you record the vote?
Twelve yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay, motion passes. 2, communication number 2023-436, Jim Fisher, Commissioner, District 6, requesting a resolution to be considered for expressing the policy of Butte-Silver Bow regarding consent decree commitments, communications, and public transparency. Commissioner Fisher.
Thank you, Chairman Frederickson. Just a little update. I did meet with Sean Peterson from the County Attorney's Office yesterday. We had a good visit about the resolution and some other things that concerned me and maybe some others. And our conversation was very cordial, and he had some thoughts and I had some thoughts, and we agreed on a lot of points, but there's some points I wanted more clarification on. So at this time, I would like to hold this communication in committee of the whole one more time, so I can get a little more clarification on my side, and maybe have a little more input from a legal standpoint, which I wasn't very good at it that day. So I'd like to get a little input from someone that knows a little more about it. And I thank Mr. Peterson for meeting with me, and he done a good job explaining what he thought, and I done my best to comprehend. So I'd like to hold communication 2023-436 in committee of the whole. Thank you.
Just to clarify, that's in the form of a motion? Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Okay, seeing none, please vote. Clerk, will you record the vote?
10 yea, 2 nay.
10 yea, 2 nay, motion passes. Moving on, 3, communication number 2023-444, Julie Jackshaw, 3251 South Montana Street, Butte, Montana, requesting Council of Commissioners consideration to ban plastic bag usage in Butte-Silver County and adopt an environmentally conscious stance. I believe Commissioner Shea has spoken with Ms. Jacksaw, so would you mind giving us an update on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Jackshaw has asked us to hold this for a couple of weeks. She had something come up pretty important today that she wasn't able to make it, and she really wants to be able to speak on this. So she just asked us to hold it.
Okay. We will continue to hold it. Moving on, communication number 2023-445, Ben Giles and David Allen, U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to give presentation on September 20th, 2023 on the proposed High Divide Conservation Area. We will hold that until the presentation next Wednesday. 5, communication number 2023-454, Kayla Sheridan, 212 Bavaria Street, Butte, Montana, requesting Council of Commissioners authorization to give presentation on September 27th, 2023, relating to the remodel of 739 South Main Street, Butte, Montana. We will hold that for the presentation on September 27th. And now we'll move on to the resolution number 2023-47. Clerk, will you read that resolution? Read the resolution, please.
A resolution fixing the mandatory tax levies for the various funds of the state of Montana at a rate which will raise the amount necessary to be raised by the tax levies for each fund for the fiscal year 2024 and providing an effective date herein.
Commissioner Shea.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I would make a motion to move resolution number 2023-47 to final reading and passed, having been deemed fully read at length.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anything on the question? Commissioner Anderson. Microphone, please.
Chairman, on the agenda here, it has it listed as Resolution 46, and it was stated 47. Is it 47 or 46?
It is 47.
It is 47?
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote. Clerk, will you record the vote?
12 yea, 0 nay.
12 yea, 0 nay. Motion passes. That's the end of the consent agenda. We'll move to public comment on any public matter not on the agenda. Seeing none, I'll refer to Commissioner Anderson, who would like a moment to speak.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I just wanted to say thank you all very much for all the love and support the last year. A year ago tonight, I was in ICU in a coma after suffering a couple major heart attacks during a procedure. As you know, everything that could have went wrong last year ended up going wrong at the time, and in retrospect, it was pretty much everything going right. In the meantime, as you know, I just got back from Seattle for repair a valve on the mitral side. They put in a few clips and it's functioning great. In January, I went in for a bunch of testing for a transplant. They have officially removed me from the list. I'm functioning well enough right now where I will need one in the future, but not in the near and immediate future as it was before. A few days after this, I was doing fairly well, and then I ended up in a coma again for 9 days where they wanted to take me off life support a few times. I was doing so bad, but I'm a firm believer in prayer and everything, and I just want to thank you and the community so much at this time on the anniversary of one of the worst days of my life. I think it was a lot harder on my family and a lot of my friends, not knowing what was going on when you get told that your son or your brother is going to be dead and there's nothing they can do for him. It's really a big shock to the system for all of them. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of you up here. You're like a family to me. All the love and support over the years, the understanding, the help, and everything else is very much appreciated. And I wanted to be able to share that good news with all of you today. And the other part of the good news, I suppose, is it's the first time I've been to Seattle and left the hospital in the last year where I didn't have a surgery scheduled or another appointment to be in Seattle in a month or two. So you should be able to see my smiling face for a little while, I hope. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Chief Executive, all of you so much for the support this past year. And for everybody listening out there, thank you so much.
Well, that is great news, and we're so happy that you're back, and hopefully you're here for a very long time. So, yeah, well, get some rest. So, all right, yeah, Commissioner Fortune.
I was just wondering, could we get an update on the bathrooms in the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, I will work with the Chief Executive and Director Burns to see if we can get something on the agenda for an update, or, yeah. All right, anything else? I'll ask for a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.